What is the most enraging thing that anyone has ever said to you? I've been avoiding you all these months to try and save our marriage. You hate him, don't you? You hate him because he is different. My mother, accusing me of hating my autistic little brother. Sounds like she's projecting a bit. The last time I tried to vent to my family about how difficult life is raising a severely autistic and mentally disabled child, how my wife and I get no help from anyone, her family or mine, and just how difficult and stressful life is when we have to deal with screaming and tantrums constantly with no break and no end in sight. I told my family how I wished I could do the fun things that my siblings got to do, but how that wasn't possible, and how things would be a lot better if my wife and I could just get to go out on a date once a year to have dinner and see a movie. My mother called my wife and just basically told her that we were bad parents and that I should see a doctor because I had anger issues. I wasn't even angry, and my brother tells me cry me a river. Oh wait, you already did. That was the day I cut all ties with my family. They were useless before. This just sealed the deal. You would think something like that would make me feel even worse about life in general, but instead it was like cutting off a dead arm. I wasn't spending any more time wishing the thing would heal or that I could get some use out of it. Instead, frick that arm. I've still got a perfectly good one. Time to move on with life. I got crap to do. I've never been able to fathom how parents of severely autistic children manage. You have my utmost respect, sir. My mother and I had gotten in a fight a few months earlier over dumb crap and she kicked me out. She admitted that she overreacted, but wouldn't let me come home for months anyways, because what sort of example would it set if she didn't follow through with her punishments? I want to make this very clear. I had not been inside the house at all for 3 months. I'm finally allowed to come home. I'm still in the doorway, hadn't even put down my bag yet, in a hug fest with my little sisters. My mother comes flying around the corner screaming at me about how her house is a mess and I'm a lazy crap who never does any housework, kissed my sisters on the top of their heads, apologized to them, and turned on my heel. Nope. You know what I'm doing with my life is significantly more important than this crap you're doing now, right? Said by someone in the Air Force about me leaving the military after 12 years to start college. Frick that butthole. My advisor bitched at me for wasting a year in my graduate program. I spent that year fighting stage 3 cancer while taking a full course load and collecting data. Frick him. I was working at McDonald's as a manager, and this African American lady comes up and starts randomly going off on one of my employees. Something about her burger not being made right. I intervened and was like, okay, we'll fix it for you, as happily as I could. The employee was a freaking kid. This was right after the Virginia college shooting, and she decided that all of us Koreans were crazy psychopaths and started the most disgusting racial rant I have ever heard. First, you assume I'm Korean, which I am. If I was Japanese or Chinese it would have escalated faster, and you assume because another Korean went bat crap insane that I am like that? Oh, go frick yourself. But I liked my job and being paid, so I took it in stride and got this be her burger. She would not shut the frick up, so I offered her a milkshake or other tasty drink. She accepted and was still going off on my nationality, as well as how I'm a good for nothing McDonald's lifer. My employees are worthless. Blah blah. Whatever. I was at the point where as long as she sat back down and shut up, I'll do it. Well, I hand her the milkshake and she screams, "This is for all the kids you killed." Gookin threw the goddamned milkshake at me. Up to that point, she was not yelling, "Oh, number, you did not." My store manager, who heard the scream, came up behind me, grabbed me by the collar as I was moving toward the bee about to murder her, and hauled my butt back to the manager's office, and told me to sit down and shut the frick up. He went back up and let loose the most profane string of non-racial profanities I have ever heard. He was frickin' livid. He booted her butt out and banned her butt. I got the rest of the day off with pay and had to go to the franchise office because we were discriminating against her race by banning her. The lawyers laughed and said don't worry about it, that we were in the right, even with the store manager freaking out. TLDR. At MCD's, we fricked a racist black woman's order up, and she proceeds to insult the staff, then me racially, screams gook and throws a milkshake at me. Store manager keeps me from murdering her. cusses her out and bans her. We were sued for racial discrimination, but won because she's a freaking bigot herself. TLDR. Don't insult me racially or I may have to suppress the urge to kill you, especially when you assume my ethnicity. Good lord, just be happy your manager was fast enough to stop you. As funny as the headlines around this would have been, you were probably 2 steps away from one heck of a criminal charge. When I was in 8th grade, I went to a private school after being homeschooled all my life. I got the crap beat out of my every day by a crowd of ghetto black kids who were going to the school because they had gotten expelled from other schools, and this school couldn't afford to turn anyone away. Literally my only friend was my dog, a German Shepherd Lab mix. I spent every minute with that dog. He never left my side, and he always knew when I was upset. Then out of the blue he develops lymphoma. Within a month he's covered in giant tumors. We managed to make them shrink with treatment, but he kept getting sicker. Then one day, after a particularly crappy day, I get in the car and my mom says I'm sorry, but Joker died. I could not stop crying that day, and I felt like crap in the morning. I get to school, still feeling like crap, and this one obnoxious kid overhears me telling my friend about my dog. I get to my next class a couple minutes early, and this butthole says I bet your dog looked hilarious with all those tumors. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I wasn't a big kid, but I literally threw him over several desks, jumped on him, and was about to smash his face in before the teacher pulled me off. I was so pee when he put me out in the hall that I punched a locker so hard I split my knuckle open, and didn't even realize it until I saw that I was dripping blood on the principal's carpet. When asked about the unusual spelling of my name by a customer, I said it's the European country spelling. I'm named after my grandfather. The customer, you should change it to something more American. It'd be more polite. I notice that a lot of people are calling bulls on the ARP's claim that he, as an 11-year-old, could punch an adult hard enough to break bone. After having worked for a state-run facility for emotionally and psychologically troubled children ages 10 to 14, let me assure the skeptical Reddit audience that, indeed, there are plenty of 10, 11, and 12-year-old children that possess the necessary stress. We had one 12-year-old that put 3 out of the 4 cops that tried to arrest him in the hospital. I worked as a teacher at a lockdown facility for a year. The kids were junior high age, 12-14. I distinctly remember an incident where it took 4 staff members to get one violent 12-year-old down and restrained. He wasn't a particularly big boy, he just had a tendency to go berserk every now and then, and when he did, he became incredibly strong and absolutely immune to pain. A guy I knew dropped the bomb on me saying that if he catches his kid with a woman before marriage, he'll kill him. I thought it was figure of speech until he brought up that he knew people in his mosque, Islamic church, that did in fact kill their kids. We argued over if this was right or wrong for a while. He completely thought it was the right thing to do. Then, I kindly said, I won't be around him anymore if he goes through with that kind of thing. I can't support killing anyone due to religious reasons. The kicker, someone called me intolerant of religious views. No, I just don't support murder. Sorry. Western medicine is arrogant. That coming from a guy who thinks reading a few internet articles makes him more knowledgeable about medicine than people who spend their whole lives studying it. Ugh. Alternative medicine pisses me off more than most pseudosciences. Medicine is just the set of things that work to treat disease. The alternative to medicine would thus be things that don't work. My sister told me I had no attachment to my 2-year-old son, and my husband and I had no relationship with him because he goes to daycare. She had already been attacking various parts of my life, which she knows nothing about because she lives 10 hours away. But when she started on my son, I lost it and screamed at her over the phone. She seems a tiny bit jealous. The night my grandma died, I didn't cry in front of my family, so my brother furiously yelled, "Do you even care that she's dead?" All I remember is my face immediately got hot and I felt such extreme rage bubbling up inside of me that I had difficulty turning my yelling into coherent sentences. Cancer is meant to weed the weaklings out. My mother had breast cancer. It took all I had not to rip his face off in rage. My friend was trying to assemble something from Walmart and handed me the directions to read off to him as he worked. A girl who was in the room said to friend out loud about me, "Why are you handing him the directions? He's black. You know they can't read." I'd never been so mad at such ignorance before in my life. A few years back, I nannied for a very wealthy couple. They had 2 babies who I cared for very much. Their mother was a self-absorbed tea who hardly ever made time for them. Well, one day she came over to my apartment. Upon entering she goes, "Oh wow, I can't believe this is how 80% of the population lives." I didn't have granite counters or Brazilian cherry wood and marble floors, so I could see how she was appalled. Should have asked for a raise. One of my friends died in a plane crash along with his brother and parents. His sister survived because she didn't go on the trip with them. A guy at school said that the entire thing was the sister's fault because if she had gone on the trip they would have driven instead of flying. When I was a junior in high school, this little racist redneck elementary frick told me that the South will rise again because N should be serving all the white people. I hope you socked him in the nose after that. All poor people are lazy. They're poor because they're lazy. I know this because I've met poor people before. All of them were lazy. This makes me want to fricking eviscerate someone. I also have a real problem with poor is a state of mind. When you're below the poverty line, the only state of mind you're in is worry. Constant fricking worry. The most common enraging comment I get is "smile more." Pisses me right the frick off when people tell me to be happy or smile more. Frick you buddy. Smile more. Bleed more. We should take care of gays with the anti-gay gun. You know, a real gun. It was the only time in my life I almost stabbed someone. Co-worker with whom I shared an office. "Do you think, boss, hired you for your boobs?" Just out of complete silence. In a job that I worked my butt off to get, but which ended up being completely soul-crushing in more ways than one. She made a few other comments like this and then freaking denied it months later. A few years ago, I got promoted to a retail management position, which meant I was going to transfer to a different store for a fresh start. The man who was my boss at my old store pulled me aside and told me I would need to wear more makeup. My brother had died a few months beforehand, and I was slacking on makeup because I was still experiencing random crying fits. It doesn't matter what happened a few months beforehand. Putting on more makeup has nothing to do with your management skills. Butthole. I graduated, found a job, and moved into a small apartment. 6 months later when I was visiting my mom 5 hours away she told me she was upset because all her friends' kids moved back home after college, but I had to be ambitious and get a job and support myself. Tell her that the only way for you guys to be close is if she supports you financially from afar. After all her friends are supporting their kids. My father was very abusive growing up. One of my favorite memories is him smashing my face into a car door. I went to school that day with a black eye and a gash on my face and not one teacher, administrator, said or did anything. Adults sweeping my injuries under the rug was the story of my life as far as school went though. Anyways, I was hospitalized in my teen years and taken away from family for a spell. My father was forced to undergo anger management before I returned home and I had a social worker checking on me the situation twice a week when I eventually did. The enraging part was my father told me he had forgiven himself, yet he never once took responsibility for his actions or apologized to me. I am more enraged at the fact that your teachers did nothing. I hate those kind of people. Working in retail, had an older black lady put her finger right in my face and tell me that all people with red hair and freckles are M. This was said after I tried to help her make a payment on her account. She continued to swear at me for no reason and I told her if she didn't stop, she would have to leave. That comment followed. My entire store was in shock. It was about a year ago and everyone still jokes about it. Without context, I'm ashamed to admit I find that quite hilarious. I get completely enraged when people point out the fact that I'm quiet and don't talk much. 1. I don't like to raise my voice or talk over other people. And 2. Maybe I just don't want to fricking talk to you. Seriously, I really hate interrupting people or having to talk over them. Raising my voice makes me uncomfortable because I feel that it's unnecessary. So when I'm in a group of people and they're all talking, it's really hard to get a word in. So I just listen. I used to get asked a lot about why I'm so quiet. I'll say something when everyone calms down. A coworker tried to tell me that the hole in the ozone layer was for the purpose of allowing air pollution to escape into space. When I told him that's not how it works, his reply was science isn't perfect. If someone said this on Futurama or something, I'd laugh pretty hard. In high school, I was good friends with a girl. She was one of those might as well have been family relationships. Anyway, story goes in gym class one day this one guy called her a worthless fat S. She wasn't fat, wasn't skinny but wasn't fat, worthless, or a S. I hulked up and shoulder blocked the guy straight into a wall. He went down as the entire class stopped down. The gym teacher just gave me a very upvoting Obama-like look. He was old school. I liked him. That a lady at church said to my fiance, you shouldn't marry him unless he is a God-fearing man. She also claimed that our marriage won't last. I find in humor that a people who believe in an all-loving God refer to themselves as God-fearing. This will get buried, but what the heck. I was working in a call center, trying to pay for college. I didn't have much money, so I worked every holiday. They call me in for Christmas and I agree to take the morning shift. There were very few working that day, so even if the calls were less than on a normal day, we were still overflowed with angry, annoying and even sad customers. Around noon we were all worn out, so this lady calls. I take her call, greet her very politely and ask what I can do for her. She proceeds to spit the most incoherent ramble of angry sounding words, and, thanks to my stupid customer translating skills, I figure out she can't use her cell phone because she hasn't paid for it. I tell her this and say that I'm very sorry, but she won't be able to use her phone until she pays and the payment is actually processed. She then yells at me, saying how incompetent I was and she demands to talk with a supervisor, manager or boss. I very calmly explain that it's freaking Christmas and there are no freaking manager, supervisors or bosses around, because they're enjoying the day with their families. She starts yelling louder, calling me a useless idiot, a burden on society, and a B. I try to calm her down, and she keeps yelling, you all are a bunch of lazy shoots anyways. Maybe if you went to college and got an actual job, you wouldn't be working on Christmas like the idiots you are. That's why I'm a lawyer, because I did something with my life. You see, I freaking lost it. I got up without realizing it and started yelling to the phone. Just so you know, some of us actually have to work for our education. Most of us are here paying for college because we want to do something with our lives. But we don't want to forget how to be humble. We may be worthless shoots to you, but we're not the ones calling to a phone company on Christmas Day to yell at a random stranger because we are such B. Nobody wants us around today. Enjoy the rest of your day, lawyer. Then I hung up, shaking in rage, and didn't took another call for the rest of the day. I was arguing with one of those people that waves Christian signs in your face. I asked him if he had all this free time why he didn't just go volunteer at a food shelter or something, and he told me God would rather have him save sinners like me from going to heck. Well, it's not just one thing. It's a cluster of things from one person. I used to be overweight, not morbidly so, but I was about 200 pounds, and I'm 5 feet 11. I was sleeping with a guy who was 6 feet 3 inches and 260 pounds, and he had the nerve to call me fat one night. When I told him I didn't appreciate him making jokes about my weight, he said it's not a joke, fat butt. I wouldn't ever publicly date you because your weight is disgusting. I lie to people about who you are and why you're always around because you're so freaking gross. So, I got up and left. Didn't speak to him again until one night I was on Facebook and he never had Facebook while I was seeing him. Sent me an email on there. It was basically him bragging all about his new girlfriend and how hot she was, and so much better than me, blah blah blah. And I was going to be stuck where I was for the rest of my life because I'm so fat. At this point, I had already lost about 30 pounds, so I wasn't really worried about my weight being an issue for the next guy, so I ignored his message and blocked him. He started sending emails and texting me, bragging about how great his life is. I would crack up reading them, because most of it was obviously bulls, and it was an obvious attempt to make me jealous. Finally, he messages me on AIM and makes the mistake of mentioning his new girlfriend's name, so I looked her up, and she's about the size of two of me. I just forwarded her all of the message he had sent me, including one that said I could cheat if I wanted. Hotter girls try to pick me up at the bar all the time. I tried blocking him in every way possible, and even changed my phone number. Finally, and this is over a year later, I'm out with my new boyfriend at a place my friend owns, and we see this sucker at the same place. He starts to walk over to me and says, "Well, you lost the weight, but you're still unstupid. Ugly freaking B I shouldn't have been, because obviously, this guy is a piece of crap." But I was freaking livid. My boyfriend was, too, I guess, because he tried to punch him. I managed to catch his arm, because let's face it, that sad sack of crap isn't worth it, and then the bouncers threw said sad sack out of the bar. And that's the story of how I lost 260 pounds. I was seating people when I was too pregnant to serve, and it was a Sunday afternoon when I sat a party of 4, 2 couples. An older man looked at my belly, then looked at my hand and said, "Are you married?" I said, "Unfortunately number," with a smile on my face, and he said, "You're why buy the cow when the milk is free?" With this look of disgust on his face, I just smiled and walked away. My circumstances are different than what he knew, and as a Christian he should be thrilled I didn't choose abortion. But I'll let him go on and think he was Mr. Know-it-all holier than thou and I was some nasty W. I never understood that expression. If anything is ruining the sanctity of marriage, it's the idea that the only reason you get married is so the girl will frick you. I was panicking one day because I thought my indoor-only cat had somehow gotten outside. We have a lot of coyotes in the area. It was getting dark, and I was almost in hysterics. After searching the house 3 times, I asked my sister to help me find him. She refused, all bitchy like, and I asked why. She said, "It's just a cat." He's not just a cat. He's my cat, and I would be devastated if anything happened to him. I had a few choice words for her. Freaking bastard cat came waltzing up to me a few minutes later. Butthole. Whenever I couldn't find my cat, I just opened the cabinet where I keep my cat food and crinkle the bag that it was kept in. Within 15 seconds, she'd appear from wherever she was hiding with the most pathetic looking derp face. I'm a female and I have a twin sister. Every party bar we go to together, some stranger we've never met before is bound to ask us, "Do y'all do threesomes?" Frick you. That's our business, not yours. If we wanted to, we'd let you know. Also, we're not P-stars and that's incest, in my opinion. Do you frick your siblings, you sick freak? Makes me furious, if you couldn't tell. I had something very similar happen to me, kinda like what happened to you. I went to a religious youth gathering to hear a speaker that was at a church's friend's home. After the speech, I was talking to the speaker about stuff, which led to me talking about my 2 brothers and mother passing away when I was a kid. He told me that it was my fault that they died. Oldest died 3 months before my birth. Mom died at age 3. Other bro at 8. He said because I didn't pray hard enough is the reason they died. Frick that guy. I don't know I am going to top that. When I was younger and in middle school, one of the kids who always picked on me said that I was gay and I would never amount to anything in life. Also told me I should die. I tried tackling him and we got sent to the office because he threw me off of him. I didn't tell the principal because I knew it would have got him in a lot of trouble. Also, I am not gay and in 4 months I am going to college. Turns out he dropped out and as a kid. Bam. Comma, I am not gay, irrelevant to the story. Comma, in 4 months I am going to college. Extremely relevant. Today at work, someone was insisting that north was in the wrong direction and they protested profusely when I corrected them. Then when they checked their iPhone compass and found I was correct, insisted, deadpan serious, that I was reading the compass wrong. It got me going. Unfortunately, you can't fix stupid. I am a single mom of an awesome 3-year-old boy. My ex wants my son to stay with him for a month after we get the divorce finalized. I said I was considering it. My mom said, "You know, at this age, it doesn't matter if you call him every day. He's still going to think you abandoned him if you let him go that long. Nothing you can do will fix that feeling of abandonment you'll give him." I stared at her and said, "You do not know this for fact and have never been in this situation. Thanks for your input though. I love my mom and respect her very much. She just pushed my rage button hard. On the inside I was seething. I'm still thinking about it. I worked my butt off to be a good mother. I love my son more than anything in the world. I'll be goddamned if someone is going to try to attack my parenting. Yes, that was all very dramatic. Being a single mom comes with a lot of self-doubt though, and it hurts when someone stabs at the little self-confidence I can muster up. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.